One, I'll say, given the nature of employee resource groups, in the past and in most cases, they are created informally by the very communities that need them. So women's group tend to create organically. The Latinx community tends to be created organically because they're simply looking for a connection. When it happens from an organic standpoint, you can reach out to those communities to provide them added support. What type of structural resources do they need? What type of planning do they need? Do they need budget? What you want to do is enable your ERGs if they currently exist, and then ask them how they want to be represented, and so that you are not making poor decisions. So if they exist, I would encourage you to partner alongside them to pick their brains. The goal is not to give them the burden of doing this work, because they come together to create a safe and supportive culture, which may not exist at your organization. Let's be clear, folks, that if an ERG is created, it's probably because they're isolated or alienated on their teams, whether they are in a hybrid workforce, or they're the only woman, or they're the only person of color, or the only trans person. Who can they relate to? So if they have a community, this is a great time to partner and to ask for their insight. But as an HR leader, what are your employer relations practices that uplift and amplify folks? How do we expand it to give the history of DE&I and why it's here, to provide context, explain the value of employee resource groups and provide that context so people understand, and then facilitate opportunities for managers to support your employee resource groups. I have actually heard that people have said my manager doesn't want me to be involved in an employee resource group because they see it as a leg up. That shows that that manager does not know why employee resource groups exist in the first place. Also, it shows that there's some advantage by getting support from your own community. So I would lean into, from an HR standpoint, what policies do you have that adequately meet the needs of this community? How can you support them from an institutional lens? And then they can help you from an employee engagement standpoint. On the other hand, if you do not have employee resource groups, you can create an initiative that enables them. Some companies start with one collaborative group. It might be Mosaic, or you're basically trying to say we all come together, or it's a DE&I advisory board. And what that allows you all to do is say, hey, we all have a shared mission of creating more inclusive and equitable culture. I represent men, or I represent women, or I represent the Latinx community. Here's what we need. And then you all come together with the collective vision. And then you create a framework that all employee resource groups to be built in the future can follow.